YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back on Terrible Take Tuesday. Third video for this somewhat new series we've been doing, and some of you have been sending us some good but terrible takes to use in this video, so I really appreciate that. If you have any more for the future Terrible Take videos, go to our Twitter, link in the description. You can DM us if you have any. We may use them if they're terrible enough, then we'll use them. We got some good ones this week. Right before we get started, though, there's our Twitter on the top right, so you can see it, but there's also a link in the description. 40K is our subscriber goal by the end of this year. It'd be much appreciated if you can subscribe to our channel. Full coverage in season for the NFL, recapping each week. And we got straight up picks, score predictions, power rankings updated each week, and all kinds of fun stuff. So you're going to want to subscribe. You're going to want to join us for that. You're going to want to click that like button too. All that would be much appreciated. First terrible take sent to us from Brady Polk on Twitter. There's his handle. He sent this one last week too. Appreciate you very much. And this one's interesting too because it was just an article about the Niners. Super Bowl or bust is the title here. And to me, this is weird. I guess it depends on how you define the Super Bowl or bust. But I just don't view the Niners as a Super Bowl or bust team. I'm not saying they can't win a Super Bowl. It's really a good reason why I think they're not a Super Bowl or bust team. Because when I hear Super Bowl or bust, I think of a team that really has to win the Super Bowl right now, or it's a big fail. It's a failure. And I don't really view the Niners. I don't really view them as a Super Bowl contender, even though I'm not going to sit here and say they can't win. I also don't view them as a bust team either. They're gonna be a good team for multiple years. Their better years are ahead of them, so they're not a Super Bowl or bust team. I thought that was just really silly to call them that. I think teams last year, it was pretty much the Jaguars or the Vikings were the Falcons. Those were like Super Bowl or bust teams. Like, it was a failure that they not only didn't win the Super Bowl, but they were disappointing. But not that those teams can't win this year. It was at the time last year when it was said they were Super Bowl or bust. It was their year. That was the year. So the Niners just don't fall under that category. Like, I think, I don't know who's writing this. Looks like a Bleacher Report thing, but I'm not 100% on that. But they're just bored, I think. They're just coming up with stuff. I mean, you might as well say it about pretty much every team at this point. Yeah, to me, this year, Super Bowl or bust teams are, there's a few. You could say it's the Patriots, even though it's not a huge letdown because they won plenty of Super Bowls. But, if they don't win this year, are they going to, they could win next year, but are they really? The Saints, Drew Brees last year on his contract for signing a 2-year. That's a prime example, Super Bowl or bust team. I guess the Vikings could fall under that category again. The Packers, really the NFC North, the Bears, Packers, Vikings could fall under that category. I just don't see the Niners. I just don't see the Niners because their good years are still ahead. It's not the end of the world if they didn't win the Super Bowl this year. Not at all. So I thought that was weird. Another one sent to us from Cam Adams, and there's his handle there. Just some Twitter conversation. I like this. Something different. A Twitter conversation here. It's no expert, so it's not a huge deal. But I think it's just a random Lions fan from what I gathered. But basically, if you read through this, they're basically shit-talking crap talking the Bears fans because Trey Flowers is better than Khalil Mack is what I think he's getting at here, and he's really got the proof. He really thinks he has the proof. He thinks that Pro Football Focus overall grades from one season, by the way, just one season, 0.1 difference there, as you can see on the graphic. So that means Trey Flowers is better. There's a lot of things wrong with this. He's just a fan, so maybe he's just trying to get on. Maybe he doesn't really think Trey Flowers is better than the Bears, or better than Khalil Mack, but maybe he does. But, I think there's a couple reasons why this is a terrible take for me. I think there's a lot of fans, not Lions fans in general. I think Lions fans are usually not, this is a bad showing of a Lions fan. It makes the rest of them look bad. I don't think they're like that. I'm a Vikings fan. I don't really think Lions fans are really like that. They're most of them, I should say. But this kind of goes to a lot of fans out there. There's a lot of fans that really hype up a player that hasn't played a down for their team yet, and they're just really hyping him up, saying they're criminally underrated, not in this case, but stuff like that. You haven't seen him play it down for your team. Number one, did you really watch that player when he wasn't on your team? Number two, did you really give a shit about him? Did you really think he was that great then? Were you saying those things then? And I don't. It happens too much. All these new players on new teams. I understand rookies. I understand if you're confident. It's one thing if you're confident about this guy going to step up on your team. It's a good fit. But it's like, were you really saying this before, or is this coming up because he's on your team now? That's one thing I don't like. And him saying that that Trey Flowers is better because of what Pro Football Focus says. Number one, it's 1 year. He's not just generally better because of 1 year. But number two, I don't really like when I always got people in my comments last year, this year, 2 years ago even, just saying that I'm wrong because Pro Football Focus has him with a grade of this. Can't stand it. I think people base things way too much off Pro Football Focus's grade. And I respect Pro Football Focus. It's real hard work what they do over there, and it's really cool. It's something different. Nobody else does this. So, I prefer there to be a Pro Football Focus for sure. I love seeing these extra grades, these numbers. It's very cool. So I really like it. I just don't think it's 100% accurate or credible. They have an algorithm. They have a grading system to come up with these numbers. Where I watch a lot of football. A lot of people too. Most experts and most people out there, fans out there, they watch football and they see, themselves who is playing really good, who consistently played good, who made big time plays. And I think these guys at Pro Football Focus have to, as football fans, they have to think that too, but they can't really base it off that. Basically, what they see is wrong if their numbers tell them it's wrong. So it's just, it really doesn't make too much sense to me. I think the number, what's good, if I see a guy playing really, like Trey Flowers, for example, I see him playing really, really good every single week, and then I see a Pro Football Focus grade of 90.9, and I'm like, okay, it kind of matches up. You put the two together. That's what I think it's for. It's kind of to back up your opinion. I just think, there's got to be guys working there that don't really even agree with their own numbers. That's just how I think. And I know they changed their grading scale over the years too, which is weird to me. But it is a different league now. It's a different league. But I just don't like people just going all out and saying like this. It's a fact. No, it's a grade. Somebody came up with this algorithm to pop out this number, and it's very cool. But you can't base too much off of it, and that's my opinion. So appreciate you for that terrible take. Guy thinks Trey Flowers is better than Khalil Mack. And so we're clear, the guy who sent it in was Cam Adams. He's not the one saying that Trey Flowers is better than Khalil Mack. So we're clear on that. Next terrible take. Just something I came across on Twitter. It's just some odds. Came across yesterday, actually. Odds to win the AFC, odds to win the NFC. So basically to go to the Super Bowl. That's what it is. It's to go to the Super Bowl, not win the Super Bowl. And there's just a lot of things that stand out to me. I can pick it apart all day with the exact numbers here, but, where the arrows are pointing, that's like the most glaring things here. The Raiders and the Jets being ahead of or the same as the teams right below them, Texans, Jags, Titans. It's pretty wild that the Raiders and the Jets have a better chance. Well, the Jets and the Texans are the same, but the Raiders and the Jets have a better chance or the same chance to go to the Super Bowl, to go all the way to the Super Bowl. And the Texans, Jags, and Titans, pretty crazy. The Texans, the streak they went on last year, making the playoffs with a pretty young team. The Jags just 2 years ago, very, very, very close to going to the Super Bowl. That was just 2 years ago. They got pretty much the same defense, and now Nick Foles instead of Blake Bortles, so that's pretty crazy. And the Titans are a pretty darn complete team. Not that I think they're going to the Super Bowl, but they're pretty darn complete if they're healthy. So I think they're much better than the Raiders and the Jets. So I thought that was interesting. On the NFC side, the Redskins. Well, it's not just on the NFC side. You can see by the number there, just the worst chances to go to the Super Bowl is the Redskins. To me, that's surprising. I don't think the Redskins are going to the Super Bowl at all, but It's pretty crazy that, they're basically saying they're not necessarily saying the worst team. It's just chances to go to the Super Bowl, but it's pretty much along the same lines there. To me, that's a little ridiculous. They got a pretty complete defense. Yeah, I guess the offense can be better. They got a good running back group, tell you that, as long as they're healthy. I know Trent Williams is holding out, and he's prepared to hold out for the whole year. So maybe that's what they're kind of going, their offense. Yeah, because their offensive line could be great or it could be terrible depending on injuries and if Trent Williams is in there. So that was interesting. Some other ones, the Falcons, I think maybe are a little low. I'm starting to worry about the Falcons because it's basically a fresh offensive line. You got two rookies in there. So they could struggle a little bit at times, but I still think they're too low. Like they shouldn't be under the Seahawks and the Niners to go to the Super Bowl. If we're talking about playoff chances, yeah, the Seahawks seem to sneak in. But for some reason, I think the Falcons have a better chance to go to the Super Bowl than those two teams. Anything else stands out on the AFC side? Not super crazy, but the Browns being ahead of the Colts, but mainly the Chargers, the Broncos, and the Ravens being the same. I put the Ravens and the Raiders the same as those two. That's a little crazy. So I think they're really high on the Raiders and the Jets, and pretty low on the Redskins, a little low on the Falcons, a little low on the Chargers. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty low. Yeah, that AFC South group right there, Texans, Jags, Titans, they're really low on those three teams. Not that I think they're going to go. I'm surprised they're that low on the Jags just because they were there 2 years ago or very, very close to being there 2 years ago, and it's pretty much the same team, but plus a better quarterback doesn't mean they're going back, or I think they're going back. It's in terms of the odds, it's a little strange. And then the last terrible take is the NFL's terrible take. And the NFL has a terrible take. And we're kind of going backwards here. I almost forgot about the new pass interference rule that you can challenge pass interference calls. I almost forgot about that when that came out. I was very mad. And I wasn't really able to talk about it actually at the time, if I remember. Or discuss my thoughts. But now it's coming back up. You see, and just so we're clear, the Charles Robinson on Twitter, that's not the terrible take. Just so we're clear, the NFL is a terrible take coming up with this stupid rule, or the owners passing this stupid rule. Charles Robinson actually he's kind of on our side, or my side at least. I think everyone else is on my side too, anybody watching. But basically saying enjoy NFL's pass interference challenge. I've already had some sources admit. So he's in and out of training camps, I'm assuming. They're going to explore techniques, plays aimed at drawing defensive pass interference, and that's already I get disappointed when I see this stuff, and they assume every team will do it. So basically a lot of teams are going to do this. And he says the NFL has totally weaponized pass interference, just wait. So he's kind of just saying it's, he's being funny when he says enjoy, and then he's saying just wait, it's gonna be ridiculous, and I'm agreeing with that. I'm agreeing it's gonna be absolutely ridiculous. And I forgot about this, and I'm getting so excited. Practices are starting. It's almost NFL season, and I just remember this, and it kind of takes a hit a little bit. Kind of takes a step down, and it's not only is it going to slow the game down, it's changing a great game that I love. They keep taking pieces here and there and changing them. That I just love this game, and they keep changing it. I'm not a big change fan, especially for something so great. I don't think there was anything broke about it. You look at college football. I guess if you had to find a negative thing about college football is the targeting, because guys are getting thrown out. But I really don't disagree with that. Maybe it shouldn't be as easy for guys to get thrown out of games. But, college football is great. The officiating is always consistent, in my opinion. There's nothing. I'm never, there's NFL games where I'm watching. Honestly, I care about every NFL team. I care about the NFL a lot, but there's two teams I really don't. I'm not going to lose sleep if either team loses a game or doesn't go to the Super Bowl. I'm watching two teams like that, and I'm sitting there yelling at the refs. I found myself doing that all kinds of time, every week, all the games pretty much every week, most of the games every week, I should say. And it's a little ridiculous. And now they're adding that on top of it, and it's just. I don't do that for college football, is my point. And they're making these changes to football, not really NFL, the way I look at it, to football, that takes us another step of officials in the league controlling the game a little more than we want them to, a little more than the teams themselves can, which they should control most of it. Pretty much, they should control all of it, really. So it's pretty ridiculous, and it changes the games on another level, kind of what Charles Robinson here is talking about. The teams have techniques and plays for this, basically a whole section of a playbook for this that didn't exist before. So it's changing it too much, and it's not for the good. I just hope it doesn't. I think this could be worse than the pass interference nonsense that was going on, that they kind of fixed towards the end of the year, which is another reason why I hated last year, because outcomes were changed based on something, and then halfway through the season they changed it back. So it was basically like 2 style seasons in one. So we really don't know. I think we knew who the better teams were that year, and the better teams stood out, but it affects, records. It affects every week. It affects it every week. So I don't know. I hate this. I hope I'm not going to hate it more than I think I am, or this really the same. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. One thing I want change in the NFL is I don't like when it's not really it's not a call or anything. It's not a in-game thing. I don't like how the NFL changes, flexes games in year, changes the schedule basically. I think it throws teams off. I think it makes unfair advantages, to put teams just to get extra home games, extra primetime games. I just don't like that. I think I think as soon as the schedules come out, I know everyone wants to see a better game, but I think the way the schedules come out, that's the way it's meant to be. So I don't like change, but if there was one thing I would change, it'd be that. That's the only thing I can think of, really. I think they fixed the roughing the passer call. We talked about a little bit. They fixed that last year. So it was a little better, except it was a bad one, and it was the Patriots-Chiefs game. So they got to be more consistent. I guess that's something I want fixed, is the refs being more consistent. But again, back to this, I think this makes it worse. It makes it harder for the refs. So it makes it so much harder for the refs. It's gonna depend on what crew you get, because some crews may be afraid to overturn any of these pass interference calls. Some just, if they see any kind of contact, or I don't know. I think it's going to be inconsistent. I think it's going to really depend on the crew. It kind of was like that last year. I think it's even more like that now, because maybe there's still some crews out there that, they're still in favor of making those roughing the passer calls. So I don't know. I don't like it. It's a terrible take by the NFL. Terrible rule change. It's not really a take. It's kind of a rule change, and I just hate it. And like I said, I'm still looking forward to the NFL season, but I was so excited to see these teams practicing again. And I see this, and it just reminds me of what they did, and drives me nuts. College football, it's great. It's consistent. Officiating's great, and because it's football, and the NFL is changing football. That's my thoughts. That's my take on that. So let me know your guys' thoughts on any of those. Again, once you can send us your terrible take on our Twitter. DMs are open for that. It could be a tweet, it could be an article, anything pretty much. You want to film something with your phone that somebody's saying, or it's on TV, you go ahead. If you see some terrible comments and even on any of our videos, you can use that. So we'll see if it gets used. Appreciate you guys though. Please subscribe if you have not subscribed to our channel yet. Daily sports content, full coverage in season for the NFL. Cannot wait. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks everyone for watching. Goodbye.